Welcome back to today's Explainer. Right now, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating story that perfectly captures the psychology of success and, well, how we build habits. We're heading to a small town in Ohio, specifically Riverside High School. Now, Riverside, it wasn't famous. It didn't have massive, fancy classrooms or top-tier equipment, but it did have a teacher named Mr. Daniel Carter. And Mr. Carter had this fierce, unshakable belief. Every single one of his students had the absolute ability to succeed. But to actually unlock that success, they needed a fundamental shift in how they viewed their time. And that is exactly what we're unpacking today. So picture this. It's a typical Monday morning. Mr. Carter walks into his classroom and he sees total, absolute distraction. Students just aren't paying attention. Some are chatting away, some are gazing out the window, and a lot of them are completely glued to their screens. Which really forces us to ask, is your phone controlling your time? I mean, the students in this room were physically there, right? But cognitively, their focus was a million miles away.
Now, looking at this absolute sea of distraction, you might expect a teacher to yell. But Mr. Carter doesn't lecture, he doesn't raise his voice, he just quietly puts his books down on his desk, turns around to the chalkboard, and writes two massive words in all caps, "Your future." Immediately, the whole room goes dead silent. Curiosity just completely takes over. Finally, a student named Jake raises his hand and asks the exact question everyone else is thinking. "Sir, why did you write that?"
Mr. Carter just smiles at Jake and delivers this absolutely crucial reality check. He says, because your future is being created by what you do today. He then asks the room, who wants to be successful? And, surprise, surprise, almost every single hand shoots straight up. But here is the really profound lesson he drops on them. He tells them success doesn't just magically start the day after graduation. No, success begins right now, literally in the exact way you choose to spend your attention today. Which brings us right to tip 1, set a clear goal.
Mr. Carter asks everyone to pull out a piece of paper and actually define their destination. Jake writes down that he wants to be an engineer, Sarah wants to be a doctor, and Michael a business owner. But here's the catch. Simply stating a vague desire like, "I will study today," just totally lacks direction. It's too fuzzy. Instead, a crystal clear study goal sounds more like this. "I will study mathematics for 1 hour and complete 10 problems." Having that specific, measurable target, it makes the actual act of sitting down and getting to work so much easier because you know exactly what the finish line looks like. You aren't just wandering aimlessly.
And that naturally flows into tip 2, create a study schedule.
The very next day, Mr. Carter introduces this golden, totally non-negotiable rule. Study time is study time. You can't just cross your fingers and hope you'll magically find the time to study. You have to intentionally carve it out. You've got your mandatory classes, your standard homework, and then, this is the crucial part, a dedicated block specifically for focused study, followed up by exercise, family time, and some well-deserved rest. Taking this structure entirely to heart, Jake decides to ruthlessly block out 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. every single evening as his dedicated deep work time. But hey, as we all know, kicking off a new habit is incredibly tough. At first, Jake really struggled with the friction of just getting started. He wanted to play video games, he wanted to doom scroll on social media. All those modern temptations were literally calling his name. So to overcome this, Jake developed a little internal mantra. He told himself, first my future, then my entertainment. By constantly anchoring his mind back to his goal of becoming an engineer, he pushed right through that initial resistance. And slowly but surely, studying transitioned from a dreaded chore into just an automatic, everyday habit.
Let's move on to tip 3, remove distractions.
So, fast forward to a Friday. Mr. Carter is walking down the aisles and catches a few of his students checking their phones while they're supposedly trying to study. But instead of just banning the technology outright, he drops some great wisdom. He tells them, look, your phone isn't the enemy, but if you cannot control it, it will control your time, period. So he issues a challenge, a strict 30-minute, zero distraction study session. For exactly half an hour, phones are completely out of sight. No social media, no games, just absolute deep focus. Well, at the end of that 30 minutes, the students were absolutely floored. They had somehow managed to crush way more work in that tiny, brief window than they usually did in an entire evening. Mr. Carter totally proved to them that 30 minutes of deep, hyper-focused study is actually vastly more valuable than 2 solid hours of shallow, distracted multitasking. It's really not about how many hours you keep your chair warm at your desk. It's entirely about the cognitive intensity you bring to that time.
Moving right along to tip 4, don't be afraid of failure.
A couple of weeks into the school year, Jake hits a real emotional low point. He bombs a math test. Gets a terrible score and feels completely defeated. He walks straight up to his teacher and just flat out declares, "I am not good at math." But Mr. Carter stops him right there. He says, "No, Jake, you are not good at math yet." And then he offers this incredibly profound reframing. Failure is not a final answer, it is feedback. It's literally just data telling you what needs a little more work. So working with Mr. Carter to actually understand where he went wrong, Jake started practicing math every single evening. By simply treating failure as a compass instead of a stop sign, Jake ended up becoming one of the sharpest math students in the entire class.
And this brings us to the fifth and final rule. Tip 5. Be consistent. One morning, Mr. Carter points out something super important. You absolutely don't need to burn yourself out studying for 10 hours a day. What you actually need to leverage is the sheer power of micro-actions applied consistently over time. Just look at how this compound effect scales up. In one single day, you might just learn 5 new English words. Big deal, right? But over a month, practicing math daily magically turns those mind-bending problems into familiar territory. And over a year, reading just a couple of pages a day turns into consuming several entire books. Real success isn't about doing one huge, heroic, exhausting thing exactly once. It's about doing the right, small things again and again.
Which leads us right to the end of the school year and our final lesson, building yourself.
When Mr. Carter asks the class what they actually learned that year, Jake stands up and says he finally gets it. His future completely and totally depends on what he does today. And years later, those exact students took wildly different paths. Some became engineers, some doctors, some business owners. But they all carried this one central truth with them into their incredibly diverse careers. Your education is not just about getting good grades. It is about building the person you want to become. The habits you forge while you're learning are the exact same habits that will eventually structure your entire adult life.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, here is your highly actionable recap. The 5 core rules for the focused learner. Number 1, set a clear, highly specific goal. Number 2, create a rigid study schedule and stick to it. Number 3, ruthlessly remove distractions so you can actually achieve deep focus. Number 4, treat failure as feedback, absolutely not a final answer. And number 5, stay consistent, because those tiny daily steps compound into truly massive results.
Listen, you do not need to change your entire life in one single day. You really just need to start. Your future isn't created in one big, dramatic Hollywood moment. It's created by the small, seemingly insignificant decisions you make every single day. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. What is the one 30-minute focused habit you can start tonight to build the person you want to be tomorrow?